Well, hello guys. Hello from Austin, Texas. You can tell by some of the clobber being worn on stage that we are in cowboy country. Welcome to the first episode of DAZN Meets, our new podcast series. The idea behind DAZN Meets is that we take advantage of the fantastic people and partners we work with at the heart of sport, of media, of tech and entertainment. Today's episode is a real sign of things to come, I hope. 3 very special guests, partners and friends of the business. To my left, a man who needs no introduction, despite his disguise today. KSI,
Yo.
YouTuber, pay-per-view boxer, hydration drink businessman.
Musician. What else is there? I think I've done a movie at one point, but let's forget about that one. But yeah, a man of everything. Still young. Yeah, of course. But yeah, a man that does everything. There is no box
Unticked.
No box unticked. I just love being able to be free and just be accessible to do whatever I like and be successful at that as well.
Well, great. We'll come back to a lot of that. Mams Taylor, your manager, your business partner, a friend of DAZN, a founding partner along with Kalle Sauerland at Wasserman Boxing of the MF and DAZN X series, our new ventures, why we're in Texas this weekend. We'll talk about that. Thank you guys for being here. Nice to be with you. We want to talk about a few things. We've got about half an hour in the conversation today. We want to cover, first of all, our partnership together. We've launched recently. This is being our 3rd event coming up, the MF and DAZN X Series. Really the home of what we're trying to build of crossover boxing, something that you've been at the heart of for the last few years. So tell us why you're involved in this, why you're excited about it for all 3 of you.
Well, I think JJ and I, obviously JJ was boxing actually before we met. He had a couple of boxing matches, and then I got on board with JJ and sort of met him around the Logan JJ part 2. And for me, I know JJ's mindset is very entrepreneurial, and it made sense for us to do our own business together. And also JJ's passion for the sport and to platform others. He's helped so many other creators throughout. So this just had the perfect synergy and the perfect ingredients to put something like this together. And then Kalle, I've known since, 30 years now?
Don't say it, please. Older than I look.
Yeah, one of my very close friends, and it just all kind of made sense. And then with you guys, perfect partnership. So we're, really excited about it.
Yeah, and Kalle, obviously you are a traditional boxing promoter. That's your day-to-day core business, right? That's your family business. What excites you about getting involved in crossover boxing?
Let's not look too far back in history and some of the comments I made about Jake Paul and things like that, and what I thought about certain matchups being made. And life is a lot about timings, and Mams was very vocal about starting up this project, and we just successfully sold our business to Wasserman, obviously the leading sports giant on planet Earth, and we wanted to get bigger and bigger in the traditional world of boxing. And then we had this meeting in the boardroom in London. It feels like ages ago, but it was the first time really we sat down with JJ and Mams, and sort of it was a very informal meeting. But the first vibe I got was, this guy's serious about what he does, yeah? And
for sure. And when you talk about sustainability, I look back at the 2019 event, KSI Logan Paul 2, which was huge, but it was a very YouTuber-focused event, and it stopped the YouTuber world for a week. It was fantastic fun, but there was obviously some professional core boxers on that card, but all of the crossover fights were YouTubers. That seems to be evolving. Longer term, as we build out the Misfits brand, the X Series brand, where does this go? Does it go into broader celebrity waters? Is it politicians? Is it musicians? What is the ambition?
And this is the beauty of it. It's open to anyone who's got a following and is going to dedicate their time to this. Anyone who's a public figure and wants to settle a beef or has some kind of a grudge against someone else and they want to settle it like men in the ring.
You and Joe Weller, for example, potentially.
He wants it in the car park, and there's no one in the car park. I waited. But yeah, ultimately, I think that's the cool thing about it. It's open to all walks of life, all different, and we will always accommodate and matchmake in the fairest way possible. But at the end of the day, I think
it's all entertaining.
It's all entertainment, yeah. Exactly that.
That's an interesting point, because the world you come from, where you started your career, YouTube,
Yeah.
That world has served the next generation of consumers, right, who've grown up with the internet, with a whole range of entertainment formats that I, in my mid-30s, did not have growing up.
Yeah.
The range of entertainment options now is much broader. The concern that some parts of the sports industry has is, how do those kids behave when they get older? Are they going to like and engage with sport as much as the previous generations did? So the blending of sport and entertainment, call it sportainment, call it crossover, call it whatever you want. How do you see that evolving? Do you think it goes into other sports? Do you think it's restricted to fight sports?
I think it'll blend into other sports as well. I think for us right now, we're focused on boxing, and like that's my bread and butter. That's what I know. I've been in camp. I've fought, sparred, done all the things, and I've been in events, and I've done everything I need to do. And I feel like that's why I know, like, for me, it made sense to have a company where I'm able to make sure the fighters are the main focus, rather than just trying to make as much money as possible, making sure that all the fighters are, we're slowly building them, building each fighter up, win or lose, we're always building them, creating a story so that people are invested in them, and then it's basically everyone winning at the end of the day. And for me, that was always my main goal. And then, yeah, obviously I've got other goals, left, right, and center. But for me, when it comes to Misfits, it's all about making sure everyone wins.
Great. Let's talk about those other goals. We referenced it at the start. The breadth of your career in the last few years has been impressive. Yeah. You've gone from, when I first met you 3 or 4 years ago, you were very much beefing with Logan Paul. You're now building a multi-billion-dollar hydro.
Well, we don't know if it's we don't know if it's billions.
So Mams tells me.
It didn't say what currency.
Yeah.
You can't get a bottle of this stuff in the US or the UK. Tell us about the background to that, how you came to work with Logan, how you put your differences aside, and tell us about the Prime Hydration project.
Well, it's a long story, but it all started with me, fighting Joe Weller, beating him, and then calling out, one of the Pauls, Jake Paul, Logan Paul, any of the Pauls. And then, Logan Paul stood up or decided to fight me. We had 2 fights. I ended up winning, and then that was kind of that. But then we had a podcast, and, we just talked out, and we had a lot of mutual friends who said, me and Logan are quite similar. Like, we'd be like great friends if we weren't, fighting, etc. So, there was always that respect, but we didn't really see eye to eye until we actually talked, on this podcast and, on his podcast, and really talked and, experienced and understood each other. And we were like, oh, wow, we're actually like, this is kind of cool. And then, a few times we talk. And then, yeah, eventually we set our differences aside. He helped me with the KSI show. And then he came up to me with an idea. And he was like, oh, bro, like, I've got this Prime hydration drink, and I want you to be a part of it. And I was very skeptical because I actually wanted to create my own drink company, but I asked for some flavors. I wanted to make sure I tasted it, make sure it was all good, high quality product, and yeah, I loved it. And I was like, cool, let's go. And then now me and him launched Prime, in the UK and US, and it's just taken everything by storm.
Taking Asda by storm.
Well, I mean, it's crazy. My parents who are angry at me because they can't get Prime, and their kids are constantly asking their parents, go to Asda and get some Prime, go to Asda and get some Prime. And then Asda workers are getting annoyed because they don't have Prime, and then it's just a huge mess. But we're working on increasing the supply, but the demand is just crazy high.
I have to say that we asked the DAZN staff this week their question. We sort of opened up, say, ask your kids. We're interviewing KSI, your kids in their teenage years, whatever. All the questions were about Prime and how we could get some Prime to the Hammersmith office in London. So we'll talk about that offline.
Yeah, sure.
But I think based on the size of Mams' sunglasses, he might need some hydration drinks today as well. We can get to that later on.
But he's always primed up. He's always primed up.
Let's talk about the Jake Paul fight. It's probably the most anticipated one for you. I would say the fans want to see that fight.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Jake's obviously, I think, despite any personal feelings between the two of you, I think we all have to respect what Jake's done with his boxing during the last few years. When do you see that fight happening? Is it a fight you want? How do you see that fight playing out? How do you think it comes to be?
Well, I'd love it to be next year. I said the main reason I came back into boxing, or one of the main reasons I came back to boxing, was for Misfits, so I can actually work on fixing the whole YouTuber crossover boxing space, because it was so messy after I left. After I left with Logan and me versus Logan, so I wanted to sort that out, and that's why we created Misfits. And then also Jake Paul, I wanted to fight and beat Jake Paul, because for me, legacy is so important. Like, I don't care about money, believe it or not. Like, money comes and money goes, but what is for me the most important thing is legacy. That gives me purpose. And I know with Jake, I beat Logan, but Jake was that one person or one thing that was always in the back of my head, being like, oh, you haven't finished this, you haven't finished this. And, I tried to ignore it, just focusing on music for several years. But after a while, it just got to a point where it was just itching and scratching at me. And I felt like I needed to finally, scratch that itch. And that's why I came back into the boxing scene. And now my focus is just working on different goals, smaller goals until I reach the main goal, which is Jake Paul. And, I'd love the fight to be next year, but obviously negotiations and talking back and forth can take long, as we've seen with several fights in the boxing scene. But that is definitely my goal, my main goal.
And 2023, obviously, that being an ambition of yours, I'm sure Prime's a big part of your plans. I'm sure your music is. What else have you got planned? What are you thinking about for your broader career in the next 12 months?
Sidemen is always there as well. I'm always going to be doing videos with them. I've got my own channel that I'm just going to be posting. For me, I see YouTube as the core, the hub. Without YouTube, none of this is possible. And that's why, I've never stopped doing YouTube videos, except that period in 2017. But most of the time, I've always just come back to YouTube to make sure it's always just, I'm always pumping content. And, that's my fan base. And, that, there's a lot of people there love me and love my content. So, and then throughout, there's always going to be things left, right, and center. I'm working on an album next year. Misfits, several fights, festivals, etc. Like, I'm always going to be doing something. There's never a dull day. Even next year, I see my calendar is like blank, and I'm like, there ain't no way that's going to be blank when we get closer to that year. But I love it. I enjoy it. Like, I love the space I'm in. I say no to a lot of things because, I get so many deals, so many people throwing stuff at me, being like, oh, do you want to do this? You want to do this? And, they're throwing millions and millions and millions. But, they don't realize that when it comes to money, I don't care. Like, for me, it's all focused on making sure I do what's right for my legacy. And right now, I'm in a great space.
That's a nice space to be in.
Yeah.
Trying to wrap this up, obviously, with our X Series hats on as our partners, next 12 months, obviously, we're early in this journey. Mams, Kalle, where do you see this going? What are your ambitions the next 12, 15 months with our new project together?
I mean, consistency. I think that's the key. In a space that is so wild, you need a solid framework. So, you don't want to make it boring, but at the same time, you want to know, that Misfits, DAZN X 005, 006, 007. So, we've been looking at all sorts of spaces, places, and I just think we've already taken over in terms of being the place to go. And I think we'll just march forward out next year with consistency. As much as it's beautiful to have, JJ as the big partner in this and very much important, I think JJ is also, and I'm speaking out, turn, stop me if I'm wrong, but this is about Misfits, yeah? And it's, JJ's brand in boxing and creating that so that that has longevity, that it's around in 10, 15 years' time. Yeah? That's what this is about.
It's very exciting, and I think we're developing careers and characters. And long after JJ says, look, I'm going to hang the gloves up, we want to continue to have who's the next KSI Logan, who's the next KSI Jake, and continue to create these storylines.
Listen, we're very excited about it too at DAZN. I think we're out of time here, but thank you, the three of you, for your time today. Yeah, look forward to a big 2023. Thanks very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Cheers.